Hello and welcome to a town called Bastard. This is him, Neill, and we are playing Crusader Kings II. We are trying to engage in the Karling restoration to restore a once proud dynasty, the House of Karling, back to a throne somewhere in Western Europe. Where we left off was that I had just executed this man, the Duke of Anjou, after I kidnapped him, which means that his daughter is now the Duchess of Anjou. And surprisingly, she doesn't seem to have or bear much ill will towards me, despite the fact that I executed her father in a tyrannical fashion. I mean, she hates me for being a tyrant, but there's nothing more than that, which is a bit of an oversight. But she is married to my husband, to my son, who will shortly be declared the Duke of Anjou, which is good because it means that when they have a son together, he will become the Duke of Anjou, and I will be playing that son after I'm sort of dying a few times to get that point. As you can see, the Kingdom of France has just raised quite a lot of troops. This is because we've declared a holy war against Matilda. Now, as we discussed in the last game, there are two revolts in the Holy Roman Empire at the moment. The first is Folco, who is here is the Duke of Lombardy of Milan. He's just revolting because he why is he revolting? Well, apparently he wants to be the Kaiser. That's what his war. Folco of Holy Roman revolts war for the Holy Roman Empire. He wants to be the Kaiser. Good luck with that. I don't think he's going to succeed. He's a member of the House of Est, the House of Est rather. These were the junior of the two branches. They ruled as sort of dukes in Milan and Lombardy and this kind of northern Italian area for quite some time. Their elder branch was the House of Wealth, which is far more well known. They became Dukes of Bavaria and Saxony. One of them became a Holy Roman Emperor, and they also became Kings of Hanover and Great Britain and United Kingdom, that sort of thing. Interestingly, the way they got their start is that in real life they married Matilda of Wealth V, I believe it was, married Matilda of Tuscany, this woman. And when she died childless, she left him his lands. This obviously hasn't happened. He's married to a von Babenberg, and they've had a son. Also, historically, she has converted to Waldensian heresy, which is sort of strict voluntary poverty religion. It didn't actually really form until a bit later than this, and was declared a heresy, I think, in 1170 something. But we leave that bit of historical information out the door because she's a heretic now. Being a heretic means that your fellow members of the religion will hate you quite a lot unless they're members of the same heresy. And they can also revoke your titles with relative impunity. They don't need a claim. Also means she's trying to revolt, and she's actually winning by the looks of it. Don't know how long that will last. But relevantly for us, not only do other Catholics hate her, we can declare a holy war on her. Because we don't need a claim on her land. We can just say, well, you're a heretic, this land should be ours now. In early patches of the game, you could holy war pretty much anyone in the world as long as they're a different religion or a heresy. So you'd often get France or England or Germany owning large swathes of northern Africa, just declaring war against some of these smaller Muslim states. But in more recent patches, you can only declare holy war on people within about 2 provinces or 2 sea provinces of you. So you might ask, how can France declare war on Matilda of Tuscany, all the way over here? Well, that's because she has a vassal here, Count Renaud of Macon. And so this is the province we've declared holy war on. We've actually declared war for Burgundy, because you declare holy wars for entire duchies, not single provinces. And Macon is part, de jure, of the Duchy of Burgundy. So not only is this of interest to the King of France, because he can, because it's nearby, but also it's de jure part of Burgundy, which is in turn de jure part of France. So the King of France wants it. I think there's quite a bit of AI logic about getting lands that are part of your de jure and part of your territory. So he's doing that. Meanwhile, I'm still trying to assassinate the Count of Amiens. He's in hiding. I'm just going to put a special interest on him. I can do this thing of right click on him and click this special interest, which means I get notified more prominently when he does something. So if he comes out of hiding, I'll do that. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm still hoping that he's going to pop his clogs so that I can declare war on his son, so that my wife, who has a claim on Amiens, can press this claim. And apparently the noble lords of my realm have declared that Pierre should be Count of Vermandois. I'm not massively happy with that. I prefer my son. But I'll leave that and deal with it as it comes. I might just try flipping my vote around a bit and seeing if anyone follows suit. Well, I can't find anything about the Duke of Champagne, so I'm just going to lie that he bathes in the blood of virgins. And only 9% chance that I'm going to be discovered, so let's see if this happens. Nope, he doesn't know it was me. He's bathing in the... Ooh! He's bathing in the blood of virgins. But at the end of... If you do enough things for your focus, you can eventually get a trait determined by your focus. I think you can choose from a couple of them. In this case, I can become a master schemer, which will mean that I gain +3 intrigue. Or I can become an impaler, which is a bit more nasty. It means I like to spend my nights in the dungeons inventing new ways of torturing victims. I'm not that cruel. I'm just a schemer, so I'm going to take that. While it says it's +3 intrigue, it's actually only really +1 over what I have already, because I gained this temporary trait, this attribute, the schemer bit, just for having the focus of intrigue. But to the point of intrigue, I'll take what I can get. And I'm known as the Whisperer. This is a sort of a nickname. Lots of people through history had them, and as I'm sure everyone knows, like Richard the Lionheart and Charlemagne, which means Charles the Great, and other names like that. There's all kinds of them, or less well-known ones like Saladin, who many people have heard of, who ruled this kind of area, Egypt and Syria, in about 12th century. I think he finally defeated the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Saladin was more popularly known, if I can remember correctly, as Salah al-Din Basid al-Ayyub or something like that. Salah al-Din actually means righteous, if I remember correctly, or of the lion or something like that. So he himself had a nickname that we've just sort of incorporated into the Western name, Saladin. Anyway, so I'm known as the Whisperer. And that just doesn't really do anything in particular, but it's just quite nice. In fact, if I look through whole title histories, you can see them. So if I go to the Kingdom of France and I look at the history, going all the way back, some of them have titles. So I see Louis the Stammerer, Charles the Bald, Karl the Great, Charlemagne, and the Merovingians here. So lots of people have history of these names. And of course William the Conqueror. And there should be Harold Hardrade in history here. Yeah, Harold Hardrade. Little known fact, potentially, Harold was a Varangian, which meant that he served in the guard of Basilius, Varangian guard here. He served the Basilius for some time in the Varangian guard before that was in his youth, before coming back, becoming King of Norway, invading England, and then dying. Wouldn't feel too sorry for him. So I'm still just pottering along here. As you can see, France has raised its vassals' levies. When it raised its levies, it raised them in all of the... so it raises levies for each of its vassals. So it raised some levies from the Duke of Toulouse, some from the Duke of Aquitaine, and so on and so forth. And they'll be raised in each of their sort of individual areas. And then, ideally, one wants to combine them into this single stack of troops, as it's known, and march them on. Pretty basic logistics, really. But because that takes a bit of time, the longer troops are raised, as you can see from this third sort of effect icon here, raised levies -1, the longer troops are raised, the more your vassals dislike you, because you're taking their troops away from them, they're not working the fields, and of course they're costing them money. Because when you raise your vassals' levies, it costs them a bit of money every month. Not a lot, but it will cost them something. Ships cost a hell of a lot, galleys, but normal troops don't cost so much. But every sort of 12 days, I think it is, that your troops are raised, you like your liege a little bit less. Only -1 right now, but over long walls that really stacks up. I think when you're defending holy walls, you don't really get that penalty in the same way. So I'm not having much luck spying against the Duke of Champagne, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to pick someone else. Let's have it be the Duke of Burgundy, why not? He's not really popping out children. And in the game, women's fertility stops at about age 45. So if she doesn't have children in the next 10 years or so, he's going to have to start siring bastards. And it will go through his brother, who also doesn't have any children, although he's... and the Count Englewood has died of poor health. Well, that's fortunate. That means I can now declare war on him for my wife's claim, which means my wife will become the Countess of Amiens, which means my son will also become Count of Amiens and Vermandois, and then his child with his wife will become Duchess of Anjou, Count of Amiens and Count of Vermandois. Wonderful thing. So he doesn't have any allies in the realm, and he can raise about 1,000 troops. I can raise about, not many troops at all, apparently. And I have allies. I cannot call to war. It's quite annoying. Well, I have a couple of years, so I'm going to try to wait. I think it's because they're already allies of mine in this war. Ooh, he has bizarre sexual preferences. I'm going to keep this information to myself. So we're going to bear it in mind. So I have a bit of time here. At the same time though, I would quite like to sort of get that sorted. He has a lot of troops. Why does he have so many troops? Presumably because he's got quite good martial score there. That means his regent has good. Your regent contribute, or your regent and your wife for that matter. If your regent is your regent, their stats matter for any kind of state things. There's some things that come off your stats, and some things that come off your state stats. These are kind of the personal interactions you do, and these are kind of realm interactions like affects your relationship with your vassals and how many troops you can raise. His regent stats are substituting it for his. So instead of being 1 plus 17, it's 7 plus 17. And then the councillor contributes their entire stats. Yes, councillor contributes the entire stats, and then your wife contributes half of their stats. So my wife has 4 stewardship. Good. Terrible. So it's a hard balance for the wife. You want one with good stats and good claims. And good allies. She's not great, but she's better than I was when I started. I've only become much better because I've become a master schemer, really. And patient. Wonderful thing, patient. Oh, and deceitful, of course. Let's not forget deceitful. And a tyrant. It's a wonderful game of friendship and love. And incest and executions. Wow, this Crusader is still going on. Now, the Duke of Burgundy is engaged in a plot to revoke the County of Chalon. You can revoke... Where's Burgundy? There's Chalon. Now, you can revoke your vassals' titles as long as you have crown authority of low or higher at any point. But if you don't have a good reason for it, your vassals will start to complain quite bitterly at that. Really quite bitterly. I think this is minus 40 penalty, minus 80 penalty if you do it. Instead, if you engage in a plot to do it, you can try and get the complicity of other lords of the realm, at which point they won't really object when it happens. I can't do that because I don't have any vassals that I can take stuff off, really. I can try to revoke the land of, having said that, the city and the bishopric. Let's see if I put this here. It's actually quite tempting at the moment. My other vassals won't like me very much, to say the least. And holding a city or a bishopric isn't nearly as profitable or as useful as having a barony. But I'm tempted to do it anyway. Partly because it means I get one less vote, so my vassals have one less vote, so my heir gets chosen. And also, even though they're not nearly as good as baronies, I'm not getting a barony anytime soon, because even when I declare war on Amiens, it's well, it's going to be my wife who gets it. So, yeah. I'm going to get, let's see which one has more troops. Well, the bishopric has a lot more troops. I'm going to try and revoke this title. You normally shouldn't do this much at all, because my other vassals will hate me by 20. But as I only have one other vassal who's a mayor and he quite likes me, I'm just going to do it. And I can also rebel, but I'm much more powerful than him. And there we go, these are the conditions. He must be my subject, he must have a landed title, he can't be my regent, I must have some prestige, he must be my direct vassal, crown laws of France must allow it, and it cannot be the target of a war. So I'm going to take that. And because he likes the Pope a lot more than me, I'm probably not getting many of his troops at the moment. So in theory, this number, 957, should rise. And there it is. It's now at 1.9 thousand. That's a much better value. I like that value. I'm also getting a bit more money, because I get the money directly. It's the wrong holding type, as it says. So, where is that listed? There we go. This screen is quite a nice one. If you just click on the titles, you get to see your income and your expenses. And this bishopric of Leon is in red, because it's not correct. As you can see, this is how my tax is calculated. So my domain, the actual holdings I hold, I get 14.8 for the barony, and I get 11.2 for the bishopric. And I get an extra percentage of that from my stewardship. So the higher this gets, the more tax I get. I actually probably get a bit more tax than that, because my steward is there collecting taxes, increasing the tax by 22.5%. I don't have any feudal vassals, so there's no tax from that. And then I'm taxing my mayor for 12. So my yearly total is a paltry 46 gold. I'm not spending much. I'm spending 1 gold because that's the levies that my liege has raised. As I said, the more troops I have, the more gold it's costing me, which is why I don't like lieges for taking my troops. As you can see, wrong government type reduces the amount of money I gain by 75%. But I'm still, it's pretty good, and especially as I have collect taxes, that 22.5% actually sort of probably pushes it over the edge. More importantly though, I get the troops, and that's what I wanted. So here's 1.18k against my more than that. I think I'm going to give it a go. I'm currently leading troops in Macon anyway, so I'm not really at risk. Let's give it a go and see how it goes. So I'm going to declare war. And these are all the reasons I have. I only have one reason I can use to declare war. And if I had several different claimants and things like that, I could use them instead. I'm going to use the fact that Countess Alix-Adel has a weak claim there. As it says, if I and my wife are of the same dynasty, or if I'm her de jure liege, she'll become my, and if I was high enough rank, she would become my vassal. She's not going to become my vassal, she's just going to be a fellow vassal of the King of France, but I'm not really bothered because she'll pass it on to my son anyway. So if we win, Thomas will lose some prestige and Alix-Adel will become the Countess. If we make a white peace, which is kind of a neutral thing, she'll lose prestige and I'll lose prestige. And if we lose, I'll lose a lot of prestige, and I'll have to pay her money, and she'll lose prestige, and I'll be imprisoned. Sorry, and she'll be imprisoned, and she'll lose the claim. So I don't really want that to happen, so I've got to make sure I win. So I'm declaring war. Now it's worth pointing out actually, before I do this, I'm just going to raise my troops here. If I try and declare war now, it says no, because I've raised my levies. Now this is a bit of a sort of a game abstraction, but it prevents you just having some levies raised and just continually declaring war all over the place. Kind of represent that you're doing a bit of supply lines and people just didn't do that. So I'm going to have to declare war, raise my troops and start the march. And look, my son is back in my area again, isn't that wonderful? Oh, I apparently can call in allies despite that it says I couldn't. They do like him a bit too much though. I'll see how it goes. We have a lot of heavy cavalry. I still need 900 troops left. There is not. Let's see how this battle goes. So, just before we start the battle, actually, I'm going to reorganize my flanks. This is atrocious. This is how my army is composed. I've got my light infantry, my heavy infantry, my pikemen, my light cavalry, my heavy cavalry, and my archers. These all operate in different ways. This is my overall stats, and they also have their individual attack and defense values. In the skirmish, melee, and pursue phase, there are 3 phases really. There's skirmish, which is what happens first with lots of archers firing. There's melee, when people are hitting each other, and there's pursuing, which is right at the end of the battle when one part of the army flees. Historically, they were where most losses were taken. And each of them have different attack values and defense values in each of the different stages. Archers are best in skirmish, heavy infantry are best in melee, that kind of thing. In addition, they're also split into 3 flanks, which operate and attack each other and then start ganging up. I don't really have enough troops to man 3 flanks, so I'm just going to try to man 2. It's better to have all 3 to avoid flanking bonuses, but I can't really manage it. Each flank is led by someone. And in addition, the person who leads the main flank leads the whole army. So his stats affect things like the movement rate of the army. Then the battle is going to start, and this is what the battle looks like, as I mentioned earlier. So my enemy 2 could not afford 3 flanks, and they've only got 1, which means I'm getting a slight flanking bonus, or should be. We'll do melee at least. And this white flag means they're running away. You can only start pursuing them when you can't reach another flank to fight. Only 50 of them, so I don't really care. This shows what phase they're in. Bow, meaning the skirmish. This shows the average damage they're doing and what's going on. Average damage of soldiers and so on. This shows the tactic they're using. The generic skirmish tactic, which increases damage of certain things. Actually nothing in this case. And then it shows what tactic is likely to be picked in the next tactic in 2 days. So in 2 days, you might switch to any of those 4 tactics. Skirmish, harass, volley, harass, and volley. The main flank is using feint. This means we're increasing light infantry attack and defense, and archers attack, while decreasing heavy infantry attack and defense. Pretty generic one to do for skirmish phase. They're doing a volley harass, massively increases the value of their light cavalry. And their camels, if they have any. Which is good for them, because they have a lot of light cavalry, a lot of archers. The tactic is chosen by a mix of the terrain you're on, the culture of the leader, and heavily by the troop composition. There's some tactics you can only do with, say, 40% archers or something like that. The quality of the tactic and the defense in general is affected by the martial skill of the leader. Sorry. None of these will do anything too impressive compared with the way. I'm going to start the clock, and as you can see, deaths are slowly starting to mount up. This green bar reflects morale. When that reaches red, the flank leads with that. Now my morale is being sapped quite fast at the moment, quite heavy losses. But I'm inflicting actual heavier losses in terms of people on them. So hopefully they'll start breaking very soon. There we go. This always, we're doing the voice tactics now. This always shows yesterday's losses that each battle takes place over many days. Not terribly real, because obviously it didn't take this many days, but it's sort of representing lots of skirmishes and stuff before battles, and also allowing you to actually do anything from that while the battle's going. And there we go, he's now fled, he's broken. So, which is good because my morale's quite low. He's going to start taking quite heavy losses there. 60 a day. There we go, I've won the battle. Now, he's still got some troops left, 400 odd of them. I have a choice of either chasing them or following them. Oh, sorry, or staying here and sieging. I'm going to chase them just because you get quite a bit of war score from winning battles. You can see so far, this battle has already given me 45% war score. So I'm just going to keep chasing. And then going to have to go and besiege that building. Which I'd quite just finish them off. Especially because once you've won a battle and then you start chasing troops around, they're quite low morale. So this, as you see, this army is broken already. So I'm just going to mop them up, taking very few losses myself. I have played a game before where my count has actually died. I think it was my Emir actually died whilst pursuing someone, which wasn't very clever. But this is life. So now I'm back here. I realised I'd somehow not raised my bishoprics levies. I'm just going to sit here and besiege. Now you can see that my mayor is starting to complain about having his levies raised. This chap here. Not to worry, I'll keep going. Oh, here's a type of trait I've not pointed out before. These are our main traits along here, starting with education on the left. This shows the combat modifiers of any flank he leads, so you can see that because he's got good martial, it increases his defence, because he's patient, increases defence, and so on. He's also got this unpredictable leader, which means he's got high experimentality. This means that his the tactics he chooses during each of those phases and each of the tactic changes can be a bit random. I'm not a massive fan of it, but it tends to polarise results. Either you win a lot or you lose a lot in a battle. You can see winter starting. This affects the attrition rate. Not really had to worry about attrition much. The attrition is based on the supply of a province. That's the number of 1,000 troops that can be supported in the province without problem. As it's a mild winter, 2,000 fewer troops can be supported there. If I go over here, see this is much, that's a bad example. See that's much worse. Severe winter, -5 troops can be held there. It's quite bad. So it can only hold about 4.7 thousand troops there before they start dying every month. In tribal places, pagan places, it can be even worse. So see this place, because it's a hostile pagan homeland, really bad supply there. Only 645 troops can be held there before you start losing some. So it's quite hard to invade. It gets easier to invade as the game marches on and technology rises, basically to simulate that the pagans steadily did get wiped out, but held their own in the beginning. Norway's, or Sweden rather, is actually a bit of an interesting start, because there's often pagans here. In fact, the previous ruler, if I remember correctly, no, it's not that one. At the start of the game, there's a war with the two Erics somewhere around here. Because there is Eric of Sweden, and he has a war with another Eric who I can't find right now. But there's a king, there's a Christian king and a heretic king, both called Eric, and they had a bit of a war. And there are still sort of Germanic Norse pagans sat around here, and including Sumenesco, Finnish pagans. And I'll stay there for quite some time. Like with other religions, you can declare holy war against pagans, try and get their stuff. But I'll probably cover another game at some point where I'll do a bit of holy warring, might do a bit of paganing. And the King of France has created the Duchy of Valois, or Valois, I don't know how to pronounce that, which is a bit of a pain, because if he hadn't have created it, I could have created it as soon as I was inherited, because these two provinces are Valois, these three provinces, sorry. So I won't be able to rest off him. Can I fabricate a claimant? Yes, I can try to fabricate a claimant. I'm going to try to do that. Why not? No one's going to help me, but I'm going to try anyway. Fortunately, I like him a bit much, and they don't really like me. But I'll keep this going. See what I can get. Ooh! I can make the Duke of Burgundy the vicious rumour that he has an imaginary friend called Bappo. Let's do that. Why not? I think next I'm going to spy on the king. Not getting very far with this stuff. He's surprisingly well liked by lots of people, despite being a bit of a not very impressive person, having raised crime limits a bit too much. I suppose he's not really harming anyone, doing anything too bad. There's no really ambitious vassals, except this chap who's angry and wants controls of various things. We've just joined the Scottish War for Argyll. The dukes or kings of the Isles, independent for quite a while before Scotland took them, As you can see, this is Scotland trying to take them off him. Ah! And I've won the siege of Perone. So I'm going to graciously offer peace. Enforce my demands. And there we go. So he's now been deposed. He now has a strong claim on the county he's lost. And my wife is the Countess of Amiens, which is my son. Will inherit both Amiens and the Mandois, which is good. Oh, and my wife is agreeing with my claim. Which is nice. It's not really enough to go anywhere with it. Now you may have just noticed that I have this button Claim Jouxaurus. This isn't something from the base game. This is a mod that I use called Jouxaurus. And this is basically trying to cut down the number of female rulers. Historically, there weren't a great deal, and lots of them were sometimes a bit puppeted towards their husbands, which is why, for instance, Elizabeth I didn't marry, because men were just seen as more senior. But more than that, I find that the game tends to have a lot of matrilineal marriages where the sons inherit their mother's dynasty, which is quite rare. So I installed this mod. It doesn't take effect too often. It basically means that you're enforcing your rule against your wife and taking her land. I try not to abuse it, because you could, in theory, use it to marry someone, take the land, then divorce them, then marry someone else. But I don't have it here. Now I can't do it because the conditions aren't quite met. Apparently my wife isn't female. That's the biggest problem I have. It's a bit of an oversight. My wife isn't female. But anyway, I'll see how that goes as time progresses. It will automatically tell me if it matters, because this is an important decision. You can see about the grey border, which means I'll get a notification when I can do it. Also, this notification is still here for having the wrong bishopric. And this one is for the weak claim. Whilst I press my wife's claim on Amiens, I can get a claim on the county of Grognard-level? I don't know how you pronounce that. That's here. I don't really want it. Especially because I'd have to declare war on Wales, on the entire of England for it. So let's leave that. Lower my troops now, I don't need them. I could change the rules, but I'm not too bothered with any of these laws right now. See, I could, whilst there are no bishops who object, implement some laws here, but I quite like. I'm not secure in a position that I can make sure my bishops like me. Just noticed something, by the way, that the Duchess of Tuscany is now independent. She won the Independence War. She's quite a powerful landowner, as you can see, but as she's Waldensian, she might get holy warred into the ground. Unless she dies, in which case her son will inherit, and he's Catholic at the moment. And then he might just get picked apart. The Holy Roman Emperor has weak claims on these places, which means you can press them against people in Regency, or women. But it's not de jure part of his land, so once those claims disappear, that's really it for them. Ooh! And it looks like all my cajoling in Bourges has paid off, and I have now fabricated a claim there successfully, which is good news, because that will actually directly expand my land. It will cost me gold and prestige to do. That's what my Chancellor's been up to, and I'm going to do it because then I can just take the land. And I'm also going to try to kidnap the Duke of Burgundy. That doesn't seem very sensible, but why not? And that seems like an excellent time to end. Next session, I will try marching on Bourges, take it. It doesn't have any allies, so I could probably take it. And then I'll set my sights elsewhere. Actually, before I forget, I'm going to start setting my sights elsewhere. So I'm going to set somewhere else for my bishop to fabricate, for my chancellor to fabricate on. Now I have quite strong allies at the moment, the Duke of Holland. Yeah, that's in the Holland Empire, that's useless too. The Dukes of Anjou. So I need to find someone who's weak but still strong enough for me to get something for it. It's not really anywhere obvious. Burgundy. In fact, let's check. I check the realm tree. This shows all the vassals of the realm, ordered by how many troops they have. So I want to get someone who's not too strong. The County of Sens is the only one next, else Burgundy. But Burgundy would be stronger once with the Countess of Chalon. I might just try for Burgundy anyway. Between them we could get, so they add it together, about 3,000 troops. I should be able to manage that if I'm lucky. Or I might go for the Duke of Brittany. I might go for the Duke of Brittany. He's external to the realm. He's allied with the King of Aragon. Aragon's weak. Yeah, I'm going to try and fabricate a claim on Brittany. Because my Chancellor has is quite skilled, I'm going to try and get a claim on the duchy itself, not merely the county. So that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, now it's actually time to go. Next time I'll be taking Bourges and hopefully even trying to take Brittany. Bye everyone.